Have you ever noticed how discussions on improving business operations or possible solutions to today's economic challenges rarely consider what the emotional impact will be on employees? In some ways, it's not too surprising given how many of us have had leaders who taught us not to take things personally at work, given that it's just business. Many people think when making business decisions, business is business, so leave emotions and empathy out of it. They believe that in order to make sound, reasonable business decisions, you should only focus on the bottom line and how to improve it. I disagree with this common perception of business. I believe empathy should be encouraged in the workplace and enhanced through empathy awareness training. Many people connect empathy with sad situations and direct community service, but I believe there's another side of empathy that can show a prosperous community by embracing it and welcoming empathy in all situations, and to me, that would include business. This topic is very meaningful to me because in 1 month I will venture out into the business world and will need to decide as a manager how to handle empathy in the workplace. Empathy is essential for the workplace because it involves people, which brings up 3 major topics of diversity, fairness, and motivation. Although people argue that empathy can hurt business decisions and blur reality, I believe this is short-term thinking. In the workplace, empathy belongs as a long-term strategic plan in order to foster diversity, assure fairness, and motivate employees to perform exceptional work. Over the course of this video, I hope to provide evidence for each component of that statement, and also towards the end to provide a portrayal of the other side, why empathy in the workplace could hurt business. First, we need to define empathy. After all of the readings and videos we have discussed in class, my personal definition of empathy became the following: a process of connecting with another individual or group in a way that you are able to understand the basic emotions they are experiencing or pursue a deeper level through understanding why they are experiencing those emotions. I also agree that there are many levels of empathy on a continuum of low to high, and that 2 aspects of empathy are present: cognitive and affective. The best explanation of these components of empathy was given in a YouTube video by Grovo. This video was designed to describe these aspects of empathy and how they need to be used together in the workplace.
Empathy is the ability to put yourself in the shoes of others and see the world as they see it. But there are actually 3 kinds of empathy: affective empathy, cognitive empathy, and empathic concern. Affective empathy is when you have an emotional response to what another person is feeling, in the way that a sad scene in a movie can make you sad too. Affective empathy helps you connect with others, but it doesn't direct you to act in a certain way. Cognitive empathy involves consciously imagining how someone feels in a situation without internalizing it. It's important in a negotiation or when a doctor is treating a patient, as being overcome with emotion in those situations can prevent you from doing your job properly. However, cognitive empathy alone can have the side effect of making you seem cold or insensitive. Finally, empathic concern is a combination of affective and cognitive empathy. This means you consciously understand and internalize the emotions of another person and are driven to help as a result. Empathic concern allows you to understand how others feel and respond
With this
appropriately.
understanding of empathy, we can start to analyze how empathy fosters diversity, assures fairness, and motivates employees. One researcher by the name of Knarek wrote about the 6 habits of highly empathetic people. The 6 habits were: talk with strangers, challenge prejudices and discover commonality, try another person's life, listen hard and open up, inspire mass action and social change, and develop an ambitious imagination. These traits of an empathetic person fit extremely well with how managers can be successful in the workplace. Ineffective managers are expensive, costing organizations millions of dollars each year. 4 of these 6 traits directly connect with employees. Habit number 1, talk with strangers. Knarek says, curiosity expands our empathy when we talk to people outside our usual social circle, encountering lives and worldviews very different from our own. This kind of curiosity is critical for effective managers. It is important to understand employees beyond the nature of the work they do on a daily basis. Habit number 2, challenge prejudices and discover commonalities. With the diversity that we have in our workforces today, this is critical. Knarek makes the point that highly empathic people challenge their own preconceptions and prejudices by searching for what they share with other people rather than what divides them. It gets too easy to see employees as them and not us. It will help business professionals understand the challenges in today's modern world with things such as how you handle a job and a family as a single mother. Habit number 3, try another person's life. You can gain empathy for the plight of employees if you spend some time working in their jobs. It gives you a much better appreciation of those jobs if you put on a uniform and understand what challenges employees face. Habit number 4, listen hard and open up. Active listening has long been considered an important trait for managers to have, but Knarek says there is a second part to this. The second trait is to make ourselves vulnerable. Removing our masks and revealing our feelings to someone is vital for creating a strong empathic bond. Empathy is a two-way street that, at its best, is built upon mutual understanding and exchange of our most important beliefs and experiences. These habits directly correlate with the ability to foster diversity in the workplace. Employees have diverse backgrounds and experiences that leaders may not share. If a leader isn't listening or hearing, employees won't be forthcoming or feel secure. So effective leaders must try to look beyond themselves and open up to other points of view. Failing to do this has serious consequences and will undermine trust, collaboration, and ultimately productivity. As a manager, you are going to encounter individuals from every walk of life. Different religions, races, genders, personalities, family histories, and more create those who will be working with you. How else could a manager go about understanding another person without using empathy? Managers must put their biases aside and focus on understanding each employee so that they can foster the collaboration amongst all of them. By empathizing with employees, managers can help others in the work environment understand each other as well. When looking at fairness in the workplace, managers must delicately balance between being aloof and caring so much that they burn out. A new study from Michigan State University shows that bosses who invest energy into monitoring the fairness of workplace decisions can wind up emotionally and mentally drained. In the study, published in the Journal of Applied Psychology, researchers surveyed 82 bosses twice a day for a few weeks, and managers who reported mental fatigue from situations involving procedural fairness were less cooperative and socially engaging with other workers, even into the next day. Managers who are fair cannot realistically avoid some burnout. The survey asked 626 U.S. workers to rate their manager's ability to demonstrate empathy for employees' situations. 22% said their managers were not at all understanding, while 30% said they were rarely understanding. We must consider distributive justice here, which has to do with the outcomes the affected person actually received. Being fair-minded is a problem in the workforce. If a manager interprets being fair-minded as consistently applying the company rules, while the employee considers fair-minded to mean whether the manager seeks to understand and convey concern for the employee, then a problem exists. It is helpful for the manager to be shown the benefits of attempting to understand his employees. By taking the time to do so, managers can build a sense of trust in their employees and team. This can eventually lead to increased collaboration and ultimately improved productivity. Empathy is extremely important here in assuring fairness. Although a manager cannot make a decision that will make everyone happy, they can empathize with each party that is affected and understand their reaction to the final decision made. When doing so, the manager can explain to the employees unhappy about the decision why it has to be made. If the manager empathizes with them, the explanation will address their true concerns or frustrations about the problem. From this, employees will know their manager truly understands them, and hostility will drastically decrease. Even if fairness is not directly in the decision made, it needs to exist in the way it is delivered and understood among all employees. The last part of empathy that benefits a manager in the workplace is motivation. What distinguishes average to mediocre leaders from those who excel at leading others is how the latter group understands that their focus is more than the bottom line, and also on fulfilling the collective purpose of creating something meaningful. To accomplish this, leaders need to understand the inner purpose and motivation that drives each of their employees and aligning that with the organization's goals. This requires that leaders be more open about their ideas and thinking and asking their employees about their thoughts on it. By spending more time learning about the needs of their employees, leaders can set the tone and the approach taken by their employees to achieve the organization's goals. All of this is done through empathy. One may ask, why does it matter for us to understand the needs of others? Leaders who take the time to understand the needs of their employees can provide them with the support they require to press ahead, to deal with the challenges or issues that might be holding them back from achieving their goals. By understanding and providing employees with what they need to succeed, leaders can build a sense of trust, thereby strengthening the relationships they have with their employees and consequently the relationships employees have with one another, leading to greater collaboration and improved productivity. Instilling a sense of empathy in how you lead those under your care offers a number of advantages. Empathy allows us to feel safe with our failures because we won't simply be blamed for them. It encourages leaders to understand the root cause behind poor performance. Being empathetic allows leaders to help struggling employees improve and excel. Empathy allows leaders to build and develop relationships with those they lead. You gain a greater awareness of the needs of your employees. Empathy allows you to create an environment of open communication and more effective feedback. It allows us to understand and explore problems employees face and how to help them resolve them. Being empathetic with your employees helps to validate what they're going through. All of these advantages lead to this point. Being an empathetic leader and manager strengthens the relationships you have with your employees, builds trust, and thus motivates employees to perform well for you. Why would an employee want to perform for a manager that doesn't care about them? Even putting employees' feelings aside, as was previously stated, managers can help improve employees' skills through empathy. A lot of time when employees are not showing improvement, there is an outside force in play. When managers get to understand how their employees think and feel, they can tackle these outside forces and remove them from play, which opens the floor for employees' motivation to significantly increase. Jason Boyers, the Executive Director of the Division of Continuing Professional Studies at Champlain College in Burlington, Vermont, argues that behind every successful business, you are likely to find a leader who has mastered the skill of empathy. One of the hallmarks of a successful business is the ability to harness creativity to constantly push into the new territory. Without growth and innovation, businesses stagnate and eventually fade away. Empathy must be the driving force behind business communication. Now that we have some understanding of how empathy fosters diversity, assures fairness to some level, and motivates employees to perform, we can take a brief look at why some people say empathy should be kept separate from the workplace. One of the largest arguments is that managers that empathize with everyone encounter empathic distress. However, nowhere in the previously described empathy definition did it consist of acting upon the understanding of how others feel. This is an important distinction for people to understand. Just because managers take the time to understand others doesn't mean that they need to act upon it in order to make everyone happy. Managers should continue to make logical, beneficial decisions for the company while also keeping in mind how employees will feel about decisions made. Another argument against empathy is that it contradicts the modern concept of a traditional workplace, competitive, cutthroat, and with employees climbing over each other to reach the top. However, the reality is that for business leaders to experience success, they need to not just see or hear the activity around them, but also relate to the people they serve. Giving others an outlet to express their thoughts, even when we disagree, gives people a vested interest in the company's direction and success. It is also important to remember that there are limitations to the relationship between empathy and the workplace. The Center for Creative Leadership analyzed data from 6,731 managers from 38 countries. Key findings of their study were that empathy is positively related to job performance, and empathy is more related to job performance in some cultures than others. They found that the positive relationship between empathic emotion and performance is greater for managers living in high power distance countries, making empathy even more critical to performance for managers operating in those cultures. So the idea of empathy being great for the workplace may not work in all cultures. But for me, working here in the United States for my first career, the connection is extremely strong for me. Now, what do we do with all of this information? We know that empathy may not work everywhere, but that it is extremely important for the concepts of diversity, fairness, and motivation within the workplace. However, in today's workplace, empathy is seriously lacking. This is due to a number of causes. 1. Demonstrating empathy is hard. It takes time and effort to demonstrate awareness and understanding. 2. It's not always easy to understand why an employee thinks or feels the way they do about a situation. 3. It means putting others ahead of yourself, which can be a challenge in today's competitive workplace. And finally, many organizations are focused on achieving goals no matter what the cost to employees. I think it's okay that empathy is hard to master. What organizations and managers need to do is be aware of this and implement solutions to work towards a more empathetic work environment. I would like to leave you with 5 actions that I agree organizations can do to encourage a more empathetic workplace and help managers improve their empathy skills. First, talk about empathy. Let managers know that empathy matters. Though task-oriented skills like monitoring, planning, controlling, and commanding performance or making the numbers are important, understanding, caring, and developing others is just as important, if not more important, particularly in today's workforce. Explain to managers that giving time and attention to others fosters empathy, which in turn enhances your performance and improves your perceived effectiveness. Specific measures of empathy can be used to give feedback about individual and organizational capacity for empathy. Second, teach listening skills. To understand others and sense what they are feeling, managers must be good listeners. Skilled listeners let others know that they are being heard, and they express understanding of concerns and problems. When a manager is a good listener, people feel respected and trust can grow. Specific listening skills include listening to hear the meaning behind what others are saying and becoming an active listener. Third, encourage genuine perspective taking. Managers consistently should put themselves in the other person's place. As Atticus Finch in Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird famously said, "You can never understand someone unless you understand their point of view, climb in that person's skin, or stand and walk in that person's shoes." For managers, this includes taking into account the personal experience or perspective of their employees. It also can be applied to solving problems, managing conflicts, or driving innovation. Fourth, cultivate compassion. Support managers who care about how someone else feels, or consider the effects that business decisions have on employees, customers, and communities. Go beyond the standard issued value statements and allow time for compassionate reflection and response. Fifth, support global managers. The ability to be empathetic is especially important for leaders working in global organizations or across cultural boundaries, or for leaders getting ready to expatriate assignments. Workers across cultures requires managers to understand people who have very different perspectives and experiences. Empathy generates an interest in and appreciation for others, paving the way to more productive working relationships. Although these 5 actions barely scratch the surface, managers can and should constantly develop and enhance their empathy skills through coaching, training, or developmental opportunities and initiatives that organizations can and should offer.